Last time we streamed, I sent Maya with some homework. That homework was being a book called Learning to Code Python the Hard Way. Or Learn Python the Hard Way. It's this guy right here. So that was that last weekend we streamed, or did I take a weekend off? I feel like it was 2 weeks ago. Anyway, in 2 weeks she got through the first 10 lessons, so we're just going to kind of pick up on the 11th lesson, in which we... Somebody's getting auto mod wrecked. Nobody's being obnoxious, so we'll just go ahead and let that on through there. Yeah, butthole, asshole, I think was the term that she used precisely, if I'm going to quote her. But anyway, we're going to start on lesson 11 today, and that happens to be gathering user input. We got about an hour and a half to work today with Maya's schedule and mine. I've got physics homework to do tonight. But I have coffee. I have my Peachy Pear LaCroix. The coffee's Starbucks. Yes, we're looking for sponsors from both of those organizations. We'll take any monies they want to throw our way while we drink their coffee and carbonated waters on stream. We'll tell everybody how much we love them. Larry of the G Cloud coming through with a double bandwidth. That's a score. That's a score. My, where you at? Anybody got any questions while we're waiting? Happy to answer questions while we wait on our adorable Maya. A little mini ginger. Score, Guido's got it down at a resolution that his hardware can handle in the kitchen. Super hype. 380p? Is that a thing? I thought 480p was the lowest that it would go. I guess 480p would be the lowest resolution a monitor would go. I suppose there are other resolutions for smaller devices like cell phones and whatnot. I'm just a computer scientist. I don't know anything. Alright, well, while we're waiting, I don't suppose you should have to look at that slide anymore. I guess you can look at me now if you want to. We'll bring up everything. I'm pretty too. Y'all want to look at me in my super dope CosmoQuest.org t-shirt. I live in this thing, and between this and my hoodie, I'm always repping CosmoQuest. Okay. $200 megabits. I'm supposed to get 100 with mine, but I rarely get more than about 35 or 40. I guess it's 100 peak. I rarely get more than 35 or 40, and I'd say on average it's probably around 10 to 15, which is kind of crummy that I average 10% of the max, or 15% of the max, but hey, whatever. It gets it done. And mine is not $80 a month, thank goodness, because I would be raising hell if it was. What is that Kanye lyric about being on time? You lucky I even showed up to this event? Is Maya Kanye right now? So I saw a new name earlier, the Tom Van Scotter. I think I've seen it once or twice before, but it seems like maybe that's the newest of the Weekly Space Hangout crew names that I've seen. If you're listening, Tom, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're coming from, and why you're interested in what we're doing, and maybe we can point you in some directions to some additional resources for the citizen scientist vibe we're trying to pull off. What's up, Cosmic Lettuce? Thanks for hanging with us. Southeastern Arizona, I believe that's where Maya's piping in from here momentarily. Hopefully. She, and she's back in Slack again, so it should be any second now. Uncle Bill says Tom been around. I guess maybe he's just the silent type, and I don't see him a lot between the streams that I run and the streams that I watch. Another astronomy nerd. Heard. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, all the names are looking familiar so far. These are all the regular folks I see showing up to CosmoQuest and weekly Space Hangout stuff. Maya. Where is my Discord? Discord. Oh, it's behind my Slack. Okay. Maya's still not in Discord. Let's see. I don't know if she's still having problems, but she's being slow getting into Discord and joining us. And Peter's been talking about this movie all day. I don't even watch television anymore, Peter. I have Hulu and Amazon Prime, so I get videos and shows from there. But I don't subscribe to cable television. I just do not have the time for it. If I'm not working or working on school or streaming, I'm in bed watching Twitch. Or not Twitch, Hulu. Just not a ton of time for it. Well, I apologize for calling you a newbie, Tom. I see, of the people that are all here, I've seen your name the least, I guess. It's cool to be a lurker. It's cool to be silent and low-key. But as an extrovert, I tend to notice the people that chat the most, like Peter and Uncle Bill and Guido. Cosmic Lettuce, you're kind of in the middle there somewhere. I see you about as often as I don't see you. Again, maybe you're around and just lurking too, but... Oh, we just went to RNA, man. You just escaped both of my areas of proficiency. Or barely proficiency, should I say. Computer science and physics. I'm taking a physics course, and my boss is a PhD astrophysicist, so what I've learned from them two are my expertise in physics. It's a great thing about being a computer science is you have to almost take on a second career path when you work, because computer scientists don't code for other computer scientists, right? We code for people. Amateur, yeah, amateur's the word I'm looking for, Peter. Amateur computer scientist and astronomer. Tom is 38 years SE. Yeah, that's definitely expert level, Tom. Thanks for coming to hang out with us, man. I appreciate your support. Because I'm always looking for, what's the word I'm looking for? constructive criticism, positive affirmation. As long as it's neutral and above, I'll take it, man. We don't do hateful shit here, or elitist stuff. We don't tolerate those sort of people well, or trolls, we like to call them. But thankfully, I've seen very little of that. I've seen Dr. Matt have to deal with one, but we got green swords to deal with that. Guido on the scene. Nancy usually shows up to hang out with us. I have sword power as well as the broadcaster. J3, how do you pronounce that name, my man? Is that Jerwin? Is that an elite speak through E? And what are we talking about? Holographic projection. You kind of come out of nowhere with that one. Come on, Maya. What's going on? What's the holdup? Yeah, man, Guido, I subscribe to a few streamers, mostly artists, and one programmer. And I watch those folks who their channels are busier than this one is. I'd say the slowest channel that I subscribe to is probably 50 viewers, 35 to 50 viewers on average, and some of the busier ones get 200 to 500 viewers. Most of you know about Skyhook, who is my all-time fave streamer. She averages around 200, I'd say. Man, that poor girl gets trolls by the minute, man. They got it set up to where you have to be in the stream for 10 minutes if you're not following before you can speak. And we get these people that sit there for that 10 minutes. And then their first action is to point out the fact that maybe some of her, some of the top of her, the swell of her breast is showing or something. It's just asinine what these people open with. I'll give it one was, hey, does the girl with blue hair have a real man in her life? That was one. And I thought, man, you open with this? Like, this is how you open? You open with, do you have a real man in your life? Because Twitch is Tinder. They're the same thing, right? Everybody streaming on Twitch is trying to get laid. Alright, let's see. Maya just hit me back. Let's see what she's up to. She's struggling with Discord, guys. Give me just a second. I'm going to try to help her through this. Man, C is one of my least favorite languages, and here's why. I had to comb through some old school code. I think it was called MStar. It was literally like 80s C. It was right when object-oriented programming started transitioning in. So most the Atom, which is the IDE that we're using for today, and IntelliJ, or not IntelliJ, C Lion, which is JetBrains C client, C++. They didn't even recognize it as code. They just thought it was a text file. So that was hard to read, to try to, I'm looking at this old code to see how I can modernize these tasks into something friendly. And actually, while we're waiting on Maya, I can bring that up and we can talk a little bit about that. Give me just a second here. Man, let's do some transient tracker while we wait. Let's talk about this. Check her out. She is still not in Discord. Why does it say I have... Oh, shit. She friend requested me. Maybe I need to send her an invite. Copy. Let's try something else. This poor thing. If this was my fault, I'm gonna be... Okay, this is a beefy project, as you can see. This is taking a minute to load. Cosmic Lettuce, if you're comfortable in that syntax, I get it. A lot of people love C. A lot of people like shame people that use languages other than C. Yeah, but that's Guido. I'm not using CosmoQuest Discord. I'm using my personal one because it's just Maya and I. Let me calm her down. She's over here losing her cool because she can't. Because technology, damn it. And CosmoQuest does in fact have a Discord. Actually, let me see if I can get that information in here. Wait, no, not CosmoQuest. That's Starstrider's personal one. And I'll leave that to her to invite people to because I don't think I even have the capability to do it anyway. So, correct me if I'm wrong here, but C++ is essentially C with a bunch of the old standard libraries that everybody was importing already included, right? Isn't it just kind of a bundled with imports that you don't actually have to import? Isn't that essentially what happened? Okay, so she hit me up again. Oh, she's feeling good. She thinks she might have it figured out. I hear Maya's voice. Do you guys hear Maya's voice? Let's see if Chad hears you before we start cheering, right?
Okay. Wow. Awesome.
How's the music? Well, you're probably not hearing the music because you got the stream muted, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, well then never mind. You don't need music anyway. You need to focus. I was just getting ready to... if you're looking at the stream, you can see I got my transient tracker project fired up. The screen I have up here is... I wrote a bunch of code for... Let's see, what's very faint? Maya's very faint. Let's see if I can increase the volume. Let's chill the music. Let's chill music quite a bit. And let's try to increase the volume of Discord. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. The settings, perhaps? Voice and video. Oh. Okay, let's bump up the output volume. Maya, speak for us, darling. Let's see if everybody can hear you a little better.
Hello, everyone.
Is that any better, guys?
Anyone hear
Ooh.
me?
Sounds like someone is banging on something in the background. Am I the only one that hears that? Somebody like banging on banging something. I'm tripping. All right, Chad, how we doing? Can we hear Maya okay? She's still very low? Okay, let's just get rid of music altogether then, and let's see how that works. Because sometimes the music can kind of drown things that are supposed to be. Alright, so they don't hear banging. I'm the only one that hears that. So it's it's mildly, it's not even like a big deal. It's definitely not going to keep me from getting going. All right, let's see here. Let's get out of this. Get back to our. All right, so Maya, I was telling everybody that I gave you the homework a couple of weeks ago last time, and then the book that I asked you to read, and I told them that you had made it to the 10th lesson. So we're going to start the 11th today. The 11th lesson being getting user input. It almost sounds like it's music or something. Do you have music playing in the background, Maya?
Yes, I do.
I think your mic may be picking that up, and it's only picking up the very high frequency stuff like cymbal, and it's unfortunately doesn't sound like music. It sounds like I say, someone banging on pots and pans or something. It's super subtle. It's not like jarring or stream breaking, but it's just something that.
Here, I'll mute myself right now, and then when I need help or anything, I'll unmute it.
Okay, yeah, that works as well, as long as you can hear me, and we'll get going. Okay, so you got your IDE up ready to follow along?
Yes.
Okay, so this is exercise 11.py. Larry, I'm not sure why you'd see a terminal window, because there shouldn't. Okay, so here, up there is no other text other than the terminal window. I just opened a new file. So we're going to talk about receiving. Well, she's muted for now, Cosmic Lettuce, because she might not interact with us much. She's just going to kind of interject if she needs me to pause and explain a concept, or she'll unmute if I need her to answer a question. But I'm just going to kind of go at a lackadaisical pace here so everybody that wants to can follow along. But anyway, back to exercise 11, asking questions, getting user input. We all know when we use computers, it usually responds to user input. Like the software, it's what it does. You give it input, it responds and puts something on a screen or prints something to a printer or to a terminal or whatever. So we're going to play around with that thing. You don't need to read this over here, Larry. That's just a project structuring window. Okay, so imagine writing a piece of software that gives feedback. And this should probably help Maya, because the book I sent her is on Python 2. And there is an additional challenge because we're using Python 3, to convert these exercises to use Python 3's syntax. So Python 2, for example, uses this. Print, how old are you? And then we'll do an age equals raw input. And then if we run that, I got to save it because the blue dot. Everybody knows about how Maya forgets to save all the time. I never do that. So let's see here. Python 3 ex11.py. Huh? Oh, that's right. This isn't going to work because, well, if I just do a Python. And it still doesn't. Input is not a word. It's input. Okay, so it's asking how old I am, and then I can put in whatever, and then it quits. Of course, we can also do a print. You are age years old. And then that should parrot back what we just put in, right? Well, with Python 3, print doesn't work like that, and input doesn't work like that. So we'll go back and we'll do an age equals input, you question mark, and then we'll do a new line, and then we'll do a prompt. And then we'll do a print Now that should do the same thing as Python 2 did. Minus the prompt. Python 2 didn't have the prompt. Okay, so with this we can see that this input method will spit out something to the console asking you a question, and then it will store the response in the variable age. And then of course, for those of you that have missed it, we can inject variables into strings that we want to print, or strings that we want to manipulate in other ways, right? Like we want to pass around whatever. Yeah, we are definitely middle-aged, Peter. Well, I am. I don't know how old most of the people in chat are. All I see are little Twitter icons, profile pics that are this big, so it's hard to get an idea for age. I know Maya is just a little BB. I think she's just barely graduating college age. Unlike me, she went straight out of high school, which I recommend. I highly recommend going. If any of you childrens are out there listening, do not graduate high school, move to South Carolina, start a family, work in construction, and then decide at the age of 36 that if you don't change your life, you're going to die soon and go back to school and start waiting tables and bartending. Do not do that. That is the wrong path for most of us. Some of us it is the right path, I suppose, but it certainly ended up being the wrong one for me. Don't do that. Okay, so we'll make this a little more fun. We'll get a height equals input. How tall are you? These are going to be very different questions for me and Maya. Oops. What are you doing, Adam? It's putting too many things that I didn't type in there. A lot of times if you type an exclamation or a quotation mark, it automatically puts the second one in for you if it doesn't think that it is the second of two. And because of the way I move that around up there, instead of that matching this one, it created another set. And it probably had something to do with the way that I typoed and moved the cursor around. But anyway, we got the right one now. And then wait. We'll pretend we're talking to the nurse at the doctor's office, right? Input, how much do you weigh? In prompt. And then we can do a print. So, your S, or oops. Okay, how tall are you? In inches. Okay, and we're going to put our percent sign here to let me know. We're gonna do a age. Oh no, I gotta put these in more parentheses. Age, height, and weight. And I think this will work since I broke on like a logical spot, but if I'm not mistaken, I might have to put a back tick here to let it know. Let's try. See, I code in Java all week, and then I come and try to code in Python with Maya, and sometimes it just doesn't work well. It looks like we got a newbie in here. Everybody greet our new friend Pompek Dev. That Dev in his or her nickname leads me to believe that they also like to tinker with code. Pompek, if you're new here, we're just working with one of our non-computer science students at the society we work at for CosmoQuest, the Astronomical Society of the Pacific. Or at least that's who I work for. I'm not sure who Maya works for. I know there are several organizations that all collaborate on our CosmoQuest website. But anyway, Maya is not a computer scientist. She's not a software engineer. She's not even a STEM major, I don't think. I believe she... Maya, chime in here. What is your major again? Aren't you you're a social scientist?
I work for the Planetary Science Institute, so it's located in Tucson, but we have like a lot of scientists that live all over the country and even all over the world. But I'm actually studying a social science, so I'm getting a master's in public health.
Nice. Okay, so point being, she's not a computer scientist. She's not a STEM major. She's working in social sciences, and therefore has very little exposure to STEM style classes and programming classes. And we, as a citizen scientist community, decided that while we're trying to get people to come on over to CosmoQuest and help us sort through astronomy, why not bring people in and teach them the basics of coding, right? So that's essentially what we're doing right now. And Maya, who you just heard, by the way, how'd she come through that time? Is she a little clearer? My music's gone. It sounds like her background noise is gone, and it should have worked well. I need a 3 here. I am 43 years old. I am, let's see, how many inches tall am I at 5'8"? So 5 is 68 inches. And then how much do I weigh? We'll go with 210. Whoa, too many digits. All right, so that backtick did work for me. And this essentially is how we gather input using Python. All right, so Pompek is a 20-year veteran software engineer, and he's just now getting into trying to learn Python. Pompek, trust me, I'm trying to teach someone that's never coded before, and I'm starting with Python 3. So I think you're going to find that the syntax is so much more natural than C++ or even Java or C#, which are doing a great job of bringing the language back in and allowing us to name our methods whatever we want, something natural that matches what it is it's doing. But Python does a great job by eliminating things like not equals is replaced by the word not. No, don't change my... And then double equals replaced by is. And of course you still got to use like less than, equal, greater than, equal. But you're going to see a lot of natural language replacement in Python, especially Python 3, that you wouldn't see in other languages. So that essentially concludes that exercise. Now let me look at the next one and see how this thing differs from... Okay, this is just what I did in addition to the natural exercise. So 12 we sort of did by taking it from one input and printing it to taking 3 inputs and printing it. So we'll just move on to 13. This will be fun. This is going to be parameters and unpacking argument arrays. This is how you pass arguments to your code from a command line instead of having the code ask you for arguments, right? So let me save this and we'll... Whoops, that's the wrong window. Save this, close it, start another file. We'll call it exercise13.py. Okay, so Maya, you'll recall that sometimes we have to import libraries. I think we talked about that in one of the prior lessons. So here we're going to from sys import argv. And that's going to give us the ability to unpack argument arrays that are passed. Thanks for coming in, Cosmic Lettuce. We appreciate you hanging out while you could. Arguments passed to the command line. So Maya was the exercises 11 and 12. Did those go okay for you? You followed along, played, didn't have any questions before we move on to command lag arguments?
Yeah, those both went great.
Okay, cool. So Maya is caught up, which means the rest of us can move on. I've mentioned it before, but since this project initially was supposed to just be something that Maya and I worked on together, and Pamela, my boss, asked me to consider streaming it so others could learn from it. I try to make sure that Maya's my number one priority as far as understanding, because if she doesn't understand something, chances are anybody new in the stream watching probably doesn't understand either. And we don't want that. We want everybody understanding before we moved on, because we want citizen scientists. We want normal people coding. We want normal people helping us perform astrometric analysis on pictures of the moon, Vespa, Mars. I'm missing one. Moon, Vespa, Mars. There's the image detective, which is images from the International Space Station that we map over the planet. But I know I am missing one other. There's another crater mapping tool.
Isn't there Mercury?
Mercury is it Mercury? I don't know. Let's explore this together. Let's see. Let's bring this up and bring this up. Whoops, not /C/X. Alright, friends. So here it is. Vespa. Yep. Maya wins. It was Mercury that I was missing. We got our image detective, map the moon, map Mars, map Mercury, map Vesta. Vesta. T's and P's are hard. I got some other tabs in there I don't want the whole world to see, so I'm going to move those back on the other screen where not everybody has to look at it. But anyway, command line arguments. Let's get it. So what we're going to do is after we import that argv library the sub-library from the system library, we are going to set a few variables. Script, first, second, third, equals argv. Okay, so one of the things we're doing is we're forcing this software to accept 3 parameters from the command line. Otherwise, it's going to break, because if there aren't 4 things in argv, as soon as it tries to unpack 4 things into these 4 variables, it's going to do what I like to call, and maybe my Pompec dev friend can agree with me, it's going to shit the bed. It's going to start spitting all kinds of "you suck at coding" drama out here in the terminal, and then we're going to have to correct that. But for now, I think actually one of the future exercises kind of throws in some logic to check the length of that argv, and then drop that in the appropriate if block of a statement to unpack it correctly into the proper amount of variables. But we'll get to that when we get there. So what we're going to do, print, the script is called okay, and one more thing while I'm on this, if you're thinking you have to type the name of the script, stop thinking that, because the way argv works is the first index 0 in argv is always the name of the file that is being passed this array, or this variable if it's literally empty. It's just going to parrot the name of the file you're running. So if you pass 2 arguments, argv is going to have 3. If you pass 3, it's going to have 4, etc., every time. Spend a second to catch up on chat here. I see it flickering by over there while I'm yammering. Okay, we already said bye to Cosmic Lettuce. An error message cascade. We'll just stick with shit to bed. It's easier. Doesn't use quite as large words that are hard to remember. Amiga days. Amigas have been gone for a while. I had a few of them in my younger days as well. Print the first. Man, typing is hard. Of course, I have to go slow so Maya can keep up anyway. Not that she's slow, it's just that she's waiting 4 seconds on the stream to update so she can see what to type anyway. So... Okay, so essentially this is done, and it may look a little confusing, but this will make more sense when we actually run it. What we'll do is we'll do a Python 3 ex13.py, and remember the what's going to be unpacked into the script variable is a string that matches this script name, which is going to be ex13.py. So we're going to pass a first variable is a 1, a second variable is a 2, and a third variable is 3. Actually, let's confuse everybody and just run them backwards so you can see what's going on. Okay? And as you can see, the output, the first variable, which is right next to the script name, the script is called ex13.py. Pretty smart. Python figured that out all by itself. Am I right? Maya wants to know what an Amiga is. Amiga was sometime between... Was it between Windows and Macintosh OS? Was it in there? Let's find out. Shop Amiga computer. No, I want Wikipedia. Thank you. Man, am I the only one that search engines are pissing off these days with like the entire first page being advertisements? It's like, come on, it used to be like the first 2, and then I could see my search queries without having to scroll, and now it's started in 1985, Maya. For more information. Oh, Peter found it before I could paste it. All right, good news. Okay, so back to this, we can see that these print statements, this argv unpacked correctly into these 4 variables because they all 4 printed correctly. Let's do something, instead of integers, let's try strings. First variable, nope, I have to put them in quotes. And as you can see, it's unpacking that argv variable correctly and into those variables. Let's see. Tom's asking if you can address argv elements with subscripts. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. Are you talking about using array indices? Is that what you mean? Because the answer is yes, if that's what you're asking. For example, you don't have to unpack them. You don't have to unpack them. You can just access them with the indices. For example, print the script is called these will do the exact same thing. Etc., etc. I'm not going to do them all, but just to prove my point, I'll show you that those 2 will in fact repair it, and there they are. Even with my error and space between that guy. But yeah, there you go. So they also work that way. And I do believe that concludes that lesson. And if I'm not mistaken, the next lesson... Okay, so the next lesson combines passing arguments and gathering let's see. Man, I'm way behind on chat now. Let me spend a minute here catching up. Yeah, Guido, we used to use Amiga 3000s back in the early 90s to do high-end, what's the word I'm looking for? High-end 3D images, like all the great AutoCAD, all the high-end like 3D image manipulation software. This was pre Adobe, I believe. We ran it on Amigas. I guess they were the Macs of their time. So somebody asked a question about, hey, apps Twitch. Are you asking which IDE I'm using? Because yeah, it's Atom. It's an open source IDE that is very modular. You can theme it a billion ways, and you can also add and disable packages. Like if you, for example, we're coding in Python, so I can disable all non-Python packages, so they don't eat up the resources when I'm not coding in that language. And then when I switch to Java, I can disable Python and enable Java packages, so on and so forth. Super fantastic, free. It's available on GitHub at, let's see. Actually, I think it's just the atom.io. I think that's where you can find the IDE that I'm using right now. Let's see here. Yeah, it's great for Windows too. I just try to develop in a Linux environment. I have fewer problems, and I can implement most of the cross-platform functionality easiest from Linux. And I do have Windows on this box for gaming, but that's essentially all I use it for is gaming. So anyway, let's see. It is 1:49. We have about another 45 minutes. Didn't we agree to go till about 2:30? No, it was 1:30. No. 1 to 2:30. Wasn't that what we agreed to go, Maya? She might have stepped away from the keyboard to grab a drink or something. You may not have heard that. But I think we still have 45 minutes, I guess, is the short of it. So we could, as soon as I get a confirmation that she understood what we did here, we can move on. Peter, I don't know that I agree with that statement. I got Steam installed on my Linux box, and about 2/3 of my Steam library will run on Linux. And I do have my NVIDIA GPU drivers installed, so gaming on Linux is fine. The issue is with everything is getting people to write that platform for their software, and most gaming studios just aren't really interested. It's because of tools like Steam that it's becoming more popular as we speak. But yeah, the big titles, the big $60 titles and the $100 titles with the season passes, I'd say 3 out of 4 of those are Windows only, because those are the big monster studios releasing the big 50 gig software. Maya, you doing okay? You with us? All caught up on exercise 13, ready to move on?
Yes, I am.
All right, she's with us. Let's move on. So, exercise 12 and 13. And 14 is kind of a mixture of 12 and 13. So we'll just kind of bang through it real quick. And then I hope we can, I think... Ooh, does it? Does it even? Maybe these exercises don't... I think it moves on to reading file input. Yeah, it's reading files next. And we don't want to do that. I want to... I think I'm going to venture out on my own, and we're going to play with the ability to pass variable amount of arguments. But we'll do exercise 14 as it sets quickly, and then we'll move on to that. We'll call it exercise 14B. Oops, not WX, EX14.pi. And we're going to import argv again. So from sys, import argv. We're going to unpack argv into script and username. So this is telling me to print a prompt for some reason. I don't know that I want to do that. Well, okay, I see why they're doing it. Never mind. So they can just inject the variable prompt instead of the \n prompt that I've been doing. So we'll kind of run with it. So what we're going to do is print hi s_v is script. Okay, so you see they're being tricksy there and mixing them around backwards from the order in which they're unpacked, but obviously that doesn't make any difference because nobody uses variables in the order that they create them and populate them anyway, so it would be kind of silly to assume that they would have to be used in the order in which they were unpacked. Okay, so this is going to output argv essentially, and then it's going to ask some questions. So the computer is going to ask the user if it likes him or her. It's going to ask where you live. Ugh. Did it again. Too many quotes. Not put in, input. Oh, I'm botching something up here. This should have a variable in front of it, and it should call likes equals. So that will store that into likes, and this should be called lives equals. And this should be computer equals. And this is going to be, nope, I don't need that. I just need prompt here. So it places it there. And then we'll spit out all the input at the end of the deal. And it will be, all right, so you said about liking me. Let's do a multi-line print. And now we need those three. We need likes, lives, and computer here. And that should take our name as an argument when we run it, and then ask for all the other input after we run it. Let's get rid of that blue dot by saving and give it a run and see what happens. It's always up in the air with us here at on Astro office hours when we're covering for Pamela. Oh, I forgot to pass it the argument. So this is where it shits the bed when that ArgV doesn't have enough information, right? It actually didn't shit the bed there. It shit the bed on line 9. Oh. I forgot a... Boop. It's not a pupper nose, but it'll do. And I'm purposefully going to run this without that argument again to see what happens. Okay, there's the one I was expecting. Not enough values to unpack. Expected 2, got 1. Okay, so we'll do it right this time. Pass my... Hi, Big J. I'm the EX14.py script. Do you like me, Big J? Nah, fam. Let's see. Where do you live, Big J? I think at your mom's will do. And what kind of computer do you have? Also your mom's. Okay. And our output. Alright, so you said nah fam about liking me. You live in at your mom's. Not sure where that is. And you also have also your mom's computer. Nice. Okay. So thankfully that ran without a lot of drama. Maya, are you doing okay? Understanding what's going on here for the most part?
Yes, so far so good over here.
Your moms, everybody's loving your moms. Now, not Maya's moms. I'm talking about Chat's mom. Okay, Maya, because I would never disrespect your mother like that. Anyway, so what I was hoping to do next with the last half hour, instead of moving on to file IO, let us make this a little more complicated. Instead of automatically unpacking ArgV out of the gate, let's do a little inquiry to find out how large ArgV is and then unpack it accordingly. Let's see. Larry's breakfast time. Larry, what time zone are you in, bro? It's 1 p.m. here. Of course, I'm not being judgy because I eat breakfast at 1 p.m. Man, if you ask Pamela, I probably eat my first meal of the day between 4 and 5 p.m. on a regular basis. It's not healthy for me. I'm a scientist, and I know that breakfast is the best meal of the day, and I still refuse to get up and cram a couple of pieces of ham and a piece of bread in my face or something to get my metabolism fired up. But you know, I'm busy. What can I say? I need some coffee. Okay, so we're gonna back up and just go. We're just gonna start from sys and port argv. So let's say we're to keep this short and simple. We're gonna keep this to a maximum of 3 arguments. Okay. So we're the first thing if we want to know, Maya, how many arguments are in that argv array, and it's just an array. Argv is an array. You can get the first argument out of argv by argv open bracket 0 close bracket. You can get the second one out of argv open bracket 1 close bracket, so on and so forth. Just like any other array that we've worked with so far, it works exactly the same. This import only all that does is just pulls those arguments out in a special way. It's not that argv isn't a special array. It's just a normal array like the other ones we worked with. It's just that this library handles that array for us, so we don't have to do this if we know how many arguments it'll have. Well, for this one we don't know. We're going to say max 3, possibly, well, 1 is the minimum, but we won't pass any. So we pass max 3 arguments, 0 to 3. So what we got to do first, Maya, is what do we have to do to argv before we can figure out how many arguments are in there? Any ideas?
I
You remember the len length method that we used? And that returns... Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable called argsize, and we're going to pass it the length of that array. Okay. Oh, well, let's be more accurate. argvsize. Argvsize is length of array. So we're going to do a print argvsize. This is how we'll just troubleshoot ourselves to make sure we're not screwing anything up. That needs to be a period, not a comma. And that's too many letters in the extension. Okay, so when I pass no arguments, the length is 1, right? We can see that there. And that's because what I said earlier, that is always going to have the name of the script in it. And then we can further Okay, so there you can see that argv at index 0 equals what it should, which is the name of the script, right? And that will always be the case, and I'm going to stop beating that dead horse now. Just remember that it's always going to be 1 larger than the amount of arguments that we pass. Another off by 1 error to keep in mind. It's not bad enough that we start arrays at 0 instead of 1, which is non-intuitive to a non-computer scientist. But it becomes more intuitive, especially as you consider how binary works and how it originated and all that jazz. But that's a history lesson we're not gonna mess with today. So now that we know that our length is giving us the correct argsize, we're gonna do some else if right now. We're gonna do if, and if you remember, Maya, what do we look for first in our else if statements? We need our most complex if at the top, and then as they get simpler, go down, right? So the most complex scenario is the largest amount of arguments, right?
Yeah, because if you have the least complicated, then it'll just stop there.
Right. And in this in particular case, it's just going to unpack when it finds the correct length anyway. We're not doing like complex mathematic operations on this. We're just looking for the size. So what we're going to do is we're going to do if argvsize is 4, why didn't that... I think, again, I'm using Java syntax. You're annoying. I wanted you, Control X. I want you up there. Okay. It's just being an IDE. Looks like we got a new visitor in Ian. Ian, thanks for coming and hanging out, brother. We're just showing some relatively beginner Python 3 code. I have a coworker named Maya with me in Discord. She's peeking in via voice on occasion, and she's following along. She is a social... she majors in social sciences, so she has very little STEM background. But we're trying to give her the tools she needs to take off as a coder. So if argvsize is 4, we know we have 3... Not argvsize, 3 arguments. And then we can unpack. We can do a script, comma, arg1, comma, arg2, comma, arg3 equal argv. Oops. And then we're going to, we'll manipulate those in here as well. We'll come back to that. If argvsize is 3. I'll just do what I did last time. Okay, so now argv size 1 is covered. It spits out what argv 0 is, and it tells you that you pass no arguments. So we'll go back up here, and then we can, let's see. Keep in mind that that is the same thing as this. Whoops. Let's see. Easy Life Forum. Thanks for coming and hanging out. I'm working on teaching a non-STEM major coworker the very basics of Python 3. Right now we're working on unpacking command line arguments. Prior sessions we did very basic, like we started with hello world and print, and then we went to assigning things to variables, and then we went to like doing mathematical operations on variables, and then we went to like looping and decision trees. We went, and then today we've where did we start again? User input, like taking user input, and then now we've moved on to taking command line arguments as input. Currently, we've got everything. We're opening it up for various amounts of arguments. We capped it out at 3, so we didn't have to get too complex with our trees, because this is Maya's 4th time programming with me, so we don't want to get too crazy, but I just wanted to illustrate for her and chat that you can do this. You take a length of the argv array, and then you can use that as a way to funnel your argv into the appropriate code. And then we'll do a print, arg1 print. Let's start by announcing for you reusability of code. Let's just do that at this point instead of in every stinking if then else if. Okay, so okay, so that finishes, and then we're just going to copy and paste here, and then we're going to eliminate the redundancy there. And then one more time, Control C, do an enter here, Control V. All right, so this should conclude our code. Maya, y'all caught up typing? You want to run this and see how we did?
Python 3. I'm just finishing up, so I need a little bit longer.
Take your time. I'll see how mine did. Okay, so I passed no arguments. Well, I botched it up. I forgot to put something in here to populate that %s. So we'll do a argv size there, which was my original intention. Okay, so once again, I need to do a % instead of a comma there, because coding is hard. All right, finally got it right. So Maya, don't forget to, if you've already typed that print statement under the RV size variable. Don't forget that I botched that up, and you'll have to update yours accordingly here to get it to work. Larry, similar. Cases are for switch statements, and those tend to be a little wilder than else if loops or decision structures. So let's see, switch statements, and I suppose we could get to those eventually because they are pretty handy. Switch statements are more for like menus and things that are very complex in the type of input that they might. No, Maya is in my Discord, Easy Life. Skype is not a friend to my Linux box and its existing hardware. Skype wants to dominate my audio in and out. So if I load Skype, Twitch has no video or audio because it dominates my webcam and whatever's using the sound. So yeah, we're using Discord to pipe Maya's voice in. I tried using Zoom to pipe her voice and her lovely face in, but Zoom was being very weird with the hardware, and it's just easiest this way. So she can watch the stream muted and listen to me live, and then we can hear her back when she talks. Yeah, Microsoft is not... those are products I avoid. I always try to go with open source software if I can. Okay, Maya, so have you been able to run that with no arguments and get this output? This run has one argument, argv0 equals ex 14.py, and you pass no arguments.
Yes, I'm all good.
Okay. Wait. Yeah, you pass no arguments is correct. All right, so let's try with one argument and see what happens. Argument 1 will do the word 1. And I got an error. Okay. It was line 21. Oh, I see here. I forgot to unpack. args here. Joe, you so silly. Yeah. Now, let's try that again. This run has 2 arguments. Script name is correct, and arg1 is the word 1. So that's good news. 1 and number 2 for the second argument. And that's good news. 3 arguments. arg2 is 2. And let's do some... least speak for that third argument. Alright, super dope. This is working as it should. And we still got about 14 minutes left, Maya, but I am certainly not opposed to calling it here. My throat is getting scratchy. We could also try to get one more exercise in. It's completely up to you. We can just chill with chat for a few minutes. It's your this is your show, girl. You call it. What do you want to do?
Wow, so much pressure. I say we look at chat for a little bit longer and then call it.
Okay, let's hang out with chat. Chat, what do you guys want to talk about? What do you want to see me work on for 15 minutes? What do you want to know about Maya? She's a fascinating creature. I got to hang out with her for a week in Washington D.C. Peter, I got coffee, bro. I've been coffeeing. I've been peach pear LaCroixing. If y'all know anybody at either of those 2 organizations, they want to throw down some sponsorship, they want to support the Patreon, send them to me. Send them to Pamela because she's in charge of that stuff. But yeah, we would love some corporate sponsorship. We're trying to get some cash money in the building to do citizen science and get people involved. So get at us. Yeah, Python definitely has lots of graphical user interface libraries especially for data analysis. I'm having trouble thinking of any off the top of my head, but let's see. Maybe a quick Google will probably give me some. Let's see, Python GUI library. And let me get through all these stupid advertisements. Stack Overflow. Let's see. There's one called PySide at pyside.org that looks to be pretty Pythonic. That's a term you'll hear from Python coders. Just try to kind of stick to the soul of Python. Sorry, words are hard today. It's probably because I have this impending physics homework that I get to work on, but at least it's like snowing outside and I don't want to go anywhere. So, all right, let's see. Let's catch with chat. All right, redevs, let's see. You have one burning comment. Do not do number is 4. The keyword is... Oh, are you talking about when I was talking about the natural language and the syntax of Python as far as using is instead of double equals? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, I completely forgot about TensorFlow. I actually just bought a boot camp. I saw they had that's interesting information. I appreciate your telling me about that. So you're saying that for example, if you're iterating across or you're checking the equality of an integer, anything over 100, it doesn't work? But anyway, the TensorFlow thing, I found access to like 5 different Python boot camps, and TensorFlow is one of them. I got the whole thing for like $12. So I'm pretty excited to get started on that because I follow and subscribe to one of my favorite streamers. His name is Serpent AI. He's working on a Python artificial intelligent framework. And you can check that out at twitch.tv/serpent_AI. And then he also has a 24-hour lab running. I believe it's _labs. Let me do a quick Twitch search, but make sure I get that right. The lab is streaming all the time. Right now he's running his framework with a specific reward function on the game Bindings of Isaac. I can't remember what it's called. Hold on, let me find it. Just get it. Serpent AI lab. Yeah, it is more than one lab. It's labs. Oh, I see what you're saying. So using is technically shouldn't be done in like mathematical operations. It should be for just making sure that objects that you're passing around are the same, comparing two objects, and they contain the same instance variable settings and states, essentially. Oh, right on, right on. Okay, I see where that's coming from now because I've got it here in my checking for. All right, let's see. All right. Appreciate that heads up. Man, chat is on fire. Let's see, trying to keep up. Oh, okay, right on. Right on. Good to know. Good to know. I think I did that, redevs, because one of my coworkers come in here and busted my balls about not using is, which clearly I think means he probably doesn't understand the implications of what you're sharing with us today. But yeah, and I typically develop in Java. Like my work project is developed in Java. So I don't get to use the word is anywhere in there, right? But anyway, for anybody new, a lot of the folks that are here have already heard me blather about this ton, but I still got about 5 minutes left, so I'll briefly talk about Transient Tracker, the project I'm working on for this Astronomical Society of the Pacific. Well, we appreciate you coming and hanging out. Typically, I'm covering for my boss lady, who is a PhD astrophysicist, who typically does what's called Astro office hours on Sunday mornings. And she generally, she could do, sometimes we set up telescopes, sometimes we, she codes, because she's a far more phenomenal coder than I am. Because she's been doing it a long time. She didn't wait till she was 43 to graduate college. She graduated college at 22, and she's been doing it since. I'm just now coming out of college, so I'm 20-something years behind her. But the Transient Tracker tool is essentially, it's going to be kind of a reboot of a tool called IRAF, which is an old command line tool that was run on Sun OS terminals through the 80s and 90s. It made lots of my boss's grad students cry, and so our goal is to rewrite that functionality in a tool with a pleasant user interface that doesn't make grad students or PhD candidates or postdocs or anybody, really. We don't want anybody crying using our software, and that's the whole point. But essentially what it does right now, its ultimate goal is going to be to find near-Earth objects in pictures of the sky. We've got all these cool telescopes going up. We got data dumps we're getting from NASA. And then our tool will scan a telescope image. It will locate all the objects in that image. It will do some curve analysis on those objects. It will compare that. It will do trigonometry on the objects to determine where in the sky the image is, and it will find differences. So if it finds something in an image that was taken 3 days ago that wasn't in an image that was there a year ago, we will try to locate images of that part of the sky from a day or two before that to see how much it moves, how far it moves, and what direction it moves. If it moves all the way across the image in a matter of a day, we know that's something very close. It's probably a meteor or maybe an asteroid that's, somewhere inside of the asteroid belt. If it moves a little slower, it could be, something from the Oort cloud. We're finally starting to get images of Oort cloud objects. And that's really hard because it's far enough away that it's hard to see because they don't emit light, right? They only reflect light from the sun. So they're smaller than Pluto and they're farther away than Pluto, so they're harder to see. But we're trying to catch these images so we can classify them. Is it a meteor? Is it a asteroid? Is it a star? Is it a planet? Is it an exoplanet? When Webb goes up and tests, we're going to be able to start seeing images of planets, exoplanets, planets in other solar systems. I am just super hype about this. But we can, with the curve analysis, and the rate at which it moves across so many degrees of the sky, we can determine what that object is. If it moves, if it didn't move at all and it just appears and then disappears, well, guess what that was? That was probably a supernova, right? So that's essentially what this tool is. And right now, all it's doing, I've only been working on it seriously for about 2 months. I took about a month off of working on it to go to AAS in Washington, D.C., where I hung out with Maya for a week, and talked to NASA scientists, MIT engineers, and a bunch of, and anybody that showed up about our project and what we're doing. And speaking of, before we call it a day, because we're about to come to the end, I wanted to post, I do have a working copy of the code on GitHub. If you know enough about how to compile a GitHub or a Java project, you're welcome to download it and toy with it and even make changes and put in pull requests. We're not really taking pull requests right now, but eventually we will be. That's the whole point. NASA wanted us to develop an open source tool that the community could eventually begin contributing to. And of course, if we get pull requests and we look at them and they're rad, then we're going to take them anyway. But we're not really like putting it out there that we're looking for them. Let's see. There is the public one. And I'll post that here. So, spend a minute catching up, and then we're going to call it a day and let Maya get back to her day. And I have homework to do. Okay. All right, most of this is y'all talking to each other, so I'll leave that alone. So redevs, when you say that's super cool, are you talking about the project that I'm actually working on? Or are you talking to someone else? Because everything everybody's saying is super cool, so I have no idea. I don't know why this plugin stuff is open. So find objects is the class that actually does the curve analysis and locates the objects in a telescope image. Yeah, Larry, TESS is a precursor to James Webb. TESS is going up specifically to find 50 candidate exoplanets for James Webb. So this monster is going to go spend, I think, 1 year over the North Pole of the planet, and it's going to catch like damn near half the sky up there in that first year, and then it's going to spin around to the South Pole of the planet and catch damn near the other half. There is some little portions of the sky that are going to get missed. You'd have to go to their website and look at the way they block out the CCD and the way it captures the sky, but it is definitely, without it, James Webb is going to waste a lot of time up there, and man, the billions that we've got going into that guy, I just don't think. Matter of fact, easy life for me. As far as other languages I'm going to teach, I would have to say probably not. I think as far as any like workshops on languages, I'll probably stick to Python. But here's the crazy thing. If you come follow along in Python with our workshops, it's not a stretch to take it back to the language that that you're comfortable with or that you want to learn, and just Google like for loop syntax for Java, and then you can see how the syntax changes. Java's going to use, instead of using the tabs to block out the code inside of a method or a block of a loop or something, or a block of a decision structure, for example. It's pretty easy to transition over. Like, you can take the lessons and apply them to another language pretty easily. And vice versa. I mean, I could just as easily be teaching Java, and then people could go. But the problem is Maya has no STEM background whatsoever, and the easiest, most natural language to me to look at and to read and to look at someone else's code and see what's going on is Python. So that's why we chose that language to get her started on. As you can see, this code that I have up here, let me see if I can figure out how to zoom this a little bit so you can... let's get rid of the project window because no one wants to look at that anyway. And then we'll zoom a little bit more on this. So here we have a method called getObjects. And what this does is it scans pixels. It starts at the bottom left corner because that's where astrophysicists like images to start. Don't get me started on that. That was a whole week of refactoring because I wrote this code to stop in top left corner, which is where televisions and monitors have the origin. But astrophysicists' origin are in the bottom left corner. So I had to flop some indices around, and I had to rerun all my tests to make sure that I didn't break anything. Thankfully, it was a relatively simple fix. But it scans pixels, and it looks for the first pixel that is however many standard deviations over the background, which means brighter. Typically, it's 6 standard deviations over the background. The background is the average of all the pixels. So we just run across the intensity of every pixel in the image, average those intensities, and we get a background. So 6 sigma is 6 standard deviations over that background. If that pixel is that much brighter than the background, chances are it's an object, right? So it grabs that object, it places that pixel, its coordinates, and its intensity into, I have a class called unidentified object. And it places that pixel, man, you can't see this one either, into, let me get up here, into an object pixel, which is an X, Y, and an intensity. And then it packs that pixel into an object, which is here, and it has a center. So, and those are typically the brightest pixels in the object. And then it also has an array of all the objects, and then it has an instance variable called count, which is a sum of all the intensities of that object. And then we start these sigma values, which are for curve analysis, at 1. And then here's some more stuff that we build for the curve analysis and so on and so forth. But anyway, back to the find objects. It's just basically looking for those, and then when it finds that pixel, it checks that array to see if it's empty. If it's empty, it's the first object we found. If not, it scans all the other objects to see if this is within a pixel of an already existing object. Because my image walk method doesn't capture the whole object before it moves on. If it kind of traces a path to the brightest pixel that it can find, and once it finds the brightest pixel and no other brighter pixel around it, it goes back to where it left off because it's a recursive method, and it continues scanning. And then when it finds the next bright, that could very well be a pixel that belongs to the object that it just broke out of the recursive calls of walk image. Because what walk image does is it just scans all 8 pixels around it, assuming it's not on an edge. There's edge detection. Trust me, some of these star fields have 4,000 objects in them. If I didn't have edge detection in there, this would not work. But anyway, and it just continues doing that over and over and over. And then as it finds those pixels and adds them to objects, it changes the intensity of that pixel to the background intensity so it's not grabbed again, right? And then it spits out, here, I'll just run it for you and I'll let you see the output. Where are we at? Desktop, fits images. It spits out some of the curve analysis information. Here it's asking us how many standard deviations over the background. Standard is 6, but you can lower it to like just barely brighter than the background if you really wanted to grab every pixel that's just even barely fainter. You get a lot of false positives that way, but some people have a very specific, very close spot in the sky and they really don't need 6 standard deviations. But You missed it because it went by very fast, but you can see here the N sigma for this image is 13.61. So when I chose 6, that is 6 times the background of the image. And then you can see X, Y, error A, error B, X sigma, Y. And these are the same except the sigmas. X and Y sigmas are the only different information on each of these two lines. And those pieces of information help us determine whether, because you see some of those get up towards 3, and some of them even get up to 4 and 5. But most of those between 1, 2, and 3 are stars. The ones that are larger are typically galaxies, and so on and so forth. But this is a list of all 358 objects in that image and some of their basic curve analysis. And that's where it's at right now. All right, let me catch up a little bit. Man, y'all chatty today. Maya, darling, we're way past your end time, so you're free to bail on us. You don't need to feel obligated to hang out, but I'm just going to spend a few more minutes catching up with chat. And then I'm going to get to my homework too. But thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. You are an absolute treat to hang out with virtually. And we'll talk about our next one. I'm not going to commit to next Sunday, but Maya and I will talk off stream about the next stream. And then we'll make sure that we get that out there into the Slack and onto the Twitters. Speaking of Twitters, there's some newbies. If y'all want to know when I'm streaming, mine is CQX_Joe or the CosmoQuest X Twitters also. Tweet out when we're going to stream. Catching up with us. Okay. Falcon 9. Yeah, Redevs is saying that if you can't figure out Python, you're going to have a tougher time with other languages. And I certainly agree with that statement because the other languages are a little more cryptic in their syntax. For example, C. Printing is a nightmare. It's, what is it? C out, double right, double greater than, quote, whatever you want to print, close quote, and then ENDL, I think is how you end a print statement. I don't know. It's been a little while since I coded in C or C++, but I have nightmares. I took a operating system class in college where we coded in C, and tracing system calls through an operating system and then coding in C, that was probably the most traumatic class I took in my career. Ew, Easy Life for Me is working in Lisp. Bro, speaking of Lisp, and the second most traumatic class that I took, programming languages, CS330, we looked at Lisp, Scheme, and Prolog. And let me just tell you, I was not as comfortable with recursion then as I am now. And with it being functional instead of object-oriented, I was lost in that class for about the first half. I kind of caught on, but man, not my idea of a good time. Yeah, redevs, that's our whole reason for doing these streams, is because while I'd say college can be very beneficial to a software engineer, it certainly isn't necessary, and it's a very expensive tutorial. I'm $57,500 in student loan debt right now, having gotten my degree, and I think if I had the resources like I'm trying to create now, and just spent more time doing tutorials and picking a project on GitHub to get involved with and contribute, I think I'd be as good or a better developer than I am today after going to school for 6 years. I wished I'd have done that. I'd be in less debt. Tom, you can avoid using Ada or Lisp if you want to. Trust me, you're not missing a good time. Uncle Bill breaking out the acronyms. I think I'm finally getting caught up. Okay, I think that concludes what we got going on. Let me see if anybody, none of our Brain Bites streamers are streaming right now. Let's see if any of my people are streaming, and we can host them. Ooh, I think last time I tried to log into my Twitch and logged out of CosmoQuest and ended up being unable to host. But we're going to try it anyway. Bear with me just a moment. I promise you some quality entertainment at the end of this deal if you hang with me. Log in. Come on, log in. There we go. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm going to send us over to my lovely, adorable friend, Leslie. She is an artist. When I was watching her before I started streaming, and she was working on a watercolor painting of some World of Warcraft fan art. But she also games on occasion, and she's an absolute doll. She's goofy. She's fun. She doesn't swear a lot, which I wish she swore more. But let's go over there and give her a look-see, and everybody say hi and be kind and represent CosmoQuest and Big J well, please. Here we go. Not hose, host. Don't hose her, please. All right, friends. It's good hanging. Take it easy.